This is the Balanced Growth Show with Dr. Travis Perry, helping successful business professionals like you achieve balance in their lives.
Welcome, and wherever you're joining us from, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, we're excited to have you to talk about balanced growth. We have some great discussion ahead, topics, and even a fantastic and really incredibly talented Beverly Rogers, who's going to join us later, and we're going to discuss balanced growth with her business. So first, I want to talk about this concept of financial balance. For years and years, I was a financial advisor and financial coach. That is how I grew my business. That's how I got into this whole idea about balance in the first place. As a financial advisor, I had my own ideas and thoughts about money, how it worked, and how it didn't work. In fact, that whole background of what I grew up in, with my father being a family business, the health concerns of our family, and the struggles that my mom and dad had with money. Quite honestly, it was the only topic that I really felt my mom and dad were not congruent on their entire married life. And it brought a lot of stress to their marriage. It brought a lot of stress to my life, I think, as I internalized this some years later. I've been able to deal with it, get past it, and move on, and really help others. So as a financial advisor, when I started to help people with overall financial plans, I started to see couples that just didn't see eye to eye. I also was listening to Dave Ramsey on the radio, which you may or may not agree with anything he says, or you may be a devout disciple. Like, there's really no in between, is what I've discovered. But I've listened to a lot of his shows, enough to hear people call in and say, Dave, I've started your program, but it's not working for my husband. He's been not wanting to talk about it. And Dave's quick answer was, you guys aren't on the same boat, so it's not ever really going to work out. Unfortunately, I've heard Dave give some really bad advice live to audience members, to show contributors that have come on to get some advice from him about their marriage. And I've read his book, which I actually do have on my bookshelf, and the principles in there are sound for getting out of debt. They really are. The problem is the marital side, the relationship side of money. So as I was grappling with what the gurus are saying and how I can help my own clients, I started to see a lot of this show up. I'd see couples fight about money in my office. I'd seen them come back after not being, taking the advice, and how that's affected their marriage. And I've seen people divorce, separate over what I thought were money-related problems. Now, money is cited as the number one reason why individuals divorce. However, as I've studied my master's degree in psychology and then my PhD in marriage and family human development, I really looked at this question. Why? Why do couples have such problems with money? We know this. We know that money is the number one reason that couples fight, period. We also know from research by Jeff Dew, he was at Utah State at the time, who cited that couples argue more passionately about any other topic. Money's the number one topic, that they fight about more than any other topic, including sex, in-laws, parenting in general, just all of these topics. So why? Why is money so divisive? Well, Kohler and Klontz, they wrote a book that has been very influential in this space. And I've used it actually to teach at a university level about your financial scripts. They really coined this term, financial scripts. And it's really what you think about with money, how you have, basically programmed your brain. I don't believe it's anything new. I think it's how they had, transcribed it and then researched it to try to find what type of scripts are there. I'm not going to go deep into those scripts, but I use that to kind of better understand why couples are struggling. The biggest thing that they mention in their book is that couples just don't have the same scripts. And because they're coming at it from different viewpoints, they're not going to be on the same page until they do. Where they miss the boat is looking at the history that has brought individuals to that point. And this is where I want to start. After doing my dissertation work, I found out the couples that have shared values and shared goals are happier in their relationship. They are healthier psychologically, and they have better financial stability as a couple. Okay, that was found to be true. So if we look at scripts are what we tell ourselves. Values exist before. It's the previous. It's what we really believe to be true before we start reinforcing those scripts in our mind. Where do we gain values from? How do we change those? How do we get on a shared path together? And how does that help us move forward? In 2019, I actually toured the country at FPA, at NAFA, NAPFA, and several other, industry groups like Guardian, MassMutual, New York Life, Northwestern, and gave speeches on this exact topic that I called the relational finance gap. And this gap is where two individuals they don't line up on the same financial scripts. They don't line up on their financial values. So we're going to start with what is it that makes them actually get on the same page? And to kind of go back to that previous thought that I want to finish, that is that, wow, money is the number one most argued about topic, and it is also the most contentious and heated topic. But I'm not going to satisfy that curiosity of what actually causes divorce, because I will tell you, in an academic world, you can't actually look at causes of divorce. You'd have to put people in a divorce camp and people in a married camp forever. And we just can't do that. It's not ethical. But what we can infer is what are some of the problem areas? And then it infers that because this is the greatest problem area, that maybe that is causing some of these issues. Right? There's a whole lot of other things that we can unpack academically that I don't want to spend the time on, but we do know it's one of the biggest issues. So we're going to go there, and I found this to be true as far as I've coached individuals with their money. They're not able to achieve their goals really until the two of them have financial balance in their marriage. So I'm going to focus more on what the strengths-based side. What do great couples, what do strong marriages have when it comes to finances and their money? So that's what we're going to focus on right now. And we're going to be looking at three main things. Number one, we're going to analyze financial history. Number two, we're going to look at financial present. And then we're going to look at the financial future. Financial history. This is where the values are formed. So I started this segment with talking about my own parents and my life and growing up. My parents had a lot of stress around money. So what did that do to, a 12-year-old kid who wanted, mom and dad to help him with this or the other, or needed money for a camp, or started to buy video games or bikes or whatever it was? Well, I was now looking at my parents' example. And I like to do a little genealogical exercise when it comes to history of money, because we most of the time have gained financial knowledge from our parents, grandparents, siblings, the people who are closest to us. So I like to go to parents first. If you think about it, what did your mom or your father have as far as financial values? What financial values did they teach you? Were they money pinchers? Were they very stingy with their money? Were they very much givers? Were they hoarders? There's all different types, but I just want you to think about what was it that they illustrated, exemplified for you. Likely, there are differences between mom and dad. Why? Because they had their own money histories from their parents, which were very different. So that said, I can look at the history of my own parents and see how that shaped some ideas of my past. That money history, it can be changed. You can reframe, you can reprogram, and you can start afresh. But you really need to understand what that was like. So for me, my father very much is a penny pincher, and my mom was splurge. So I had two polar opposites, and that really allowed me to see, what kind of direction I wanted to take. And you may gravitate to one or to the other because of your interaction with your parents, but it's still very healthy to know what is your money history. This money history is what informs your money present, or what Clance Collar and Clance describe as your money scripts, because this is what you're telling yourself now. How you act now. So if I was to say, gee, I am a money pincher, I don't want to spend a lot of money. Well, then I know that it's probably because I gravitated to my father and I wanted to be more like him financially. Okay. If that was the case. It could also be the case if I wanted to splurge like my mom. Then you could see that these habits, this money present, are the scripts that we tell ourselves, because now we are simply reinforcing the ideas of our past for our present. If you want to change the present, you need to actually go back to your money history and analyze it and reprogram and say, this is what I'd like to do moving forward. Neuroscientists, psychologists, therapists use reprogramming, reframing all the time to help change behavior. Because if you can change thoughts, you can change behavior, or at least this is the method that they use, that they believe. Moving forward, how do you do this as a couple? Well, once you analyze where your separate money histories are from, you can then sit down and say, gee, I'm more of a penny pincher, you're more of a spender, or you're more of a hoarder, you don't have a good relationship with money. The important part is to develop a great relationship with money. If you're a faith-based person like I am, you believe that God gives everything to us for a reason in a season, and that you can have wealth and you can be a righteous person. There's a lot of misnomers in scripture that I believe are misunderstood, misrepresented, misrevelated to people, misunderstood in that revelation of what the money really does mean. Clance Collar and Clance bring this up, and they say a lot of problems with money happen because of scripture, but they blame religion as just a straight up blame on religion, which I think is unfair. I think it's individuals and their understanding of what the religious practices are, especially in the Bible and the New Testament. There are a lot of parables that Christ teaches that are misunderstood. I'm not going to unpack that. I'm not your pastor. I'm not your religious leader, but I would suggest that if you know that that's a problem for you and your religious values don't match up with what you believe financially, then you need to really take a hard look, and maybe there's a misunderstanding there. Okay. But I've spent years studying prosperity scriptures in all the scriptures. And it's a fantastic exercise. Look up anything that has to do with money, prosperity, and you will find principles that God has laid out that I call loosely, and many call loosely, the law of the harvest. What you sow is what you reap. So if what you're sowing in your financial history, in your financial present, and your financial ideas of present are not aligning with what you would like to receive, then that's the problem right there. Getting on the same page as a couple requires the two to look at each other and say, gee, this is your money present or script. Here's my money present or script. This is how we're different. How can we align? How can we change our thought patterns to have healthy money scripts or money present, so that you can move forward? Third step is to actually enhance your money future by creating shared financial goals. Now, there's a whole lot of hullabaloo about, well, do we have joint accounts or separate accounts, or who manages what? Quite honestly, the research that I have seen, that I have studied for years and years, says it doesn't really matter, A, who manages the funds, B, if you had shared or not shared accounts. My loose advice on that is that if you're married and your first marriage, everything should be shared or at least joint so that there's no financial promiscuity. Okay. There should be some value alignment there and some trust and build up. Those that are, maybe second or third marriage and they struggle with, well, who might get the fortune once we're gone type of a thing. I can understand your long-term assets being separated, but still what you're working on now, checking account, savings account, the things that you're building together as a couple, again, joint. That doesn't mean you can't have, a personal account that you're in charge of that your spouse doesn't use, but your spouse should have access. I have a client who informed me that they were divorced because his wife took $500,000 and didn't tell him. Like these are problems. These are real issues. Money isn't the issue. The root of it is trust. The root of it is, relationship commitment. And, it's a mix then later on about how the financial component works with that. So if you want to increase your financial intimacy and balance, have shared financial goals. Look forward to the future 5, 10, 20 years of what you want to create together. In my Achieving Balance course, my Make Time for Balance course, we talk all about how to set goals in every area of life. I believe working backwards is the best. Where you want to get to by the end of your life. Now let's move backwards. We'll do that as a couple. Talk about the end of your life together. Financially, what is it that you want to acquire, give, provide for your children or not? And then work backwards. 5 years, 10-year, 20-year goals that can get you to where you'd like to be. I'm no longer a financial advisor. And that is when I believe now you're ready to go meet with a financial planner, a CFP who can help you to then be on track to achieving those goals with what you have. But oh my goodness, the difference between couples who are on the same page, who meet with a financial advisor, a financial planner, estate planning attorney, accountant, whoever, versus the ones who are not. It is a great difference. It does everyone a service involved for you to have that financial balance. Those are the tips today. And to summarize, analyze your financial history, look at your financial present and where that financial history has created for you those financial scripts. And then moving forward, get on the same page financially speaking, script-wise with your spouse and create shared future goals. Hope this was helpful. Share this with someone who might need it. It is a topic of, very much a lot of varying opinions and discussion. I'm so glad that I have a lot of research to back up what we've been discussing today. And I am actually making this part of my Balanced Growth book. This is part of the Balanced Growth method. And the reason why, because we can talk about scaling, growing your business all day long. But if your financial history, your financial present, or your financial future is not allowing you to keep the money or use it the way that is aligned with your values, you're going to feel out of balance. Again, hope this was helpful. Thank you for being here, for listening. Your host, as always, Dr. Travis Perry. Until next time, remember, live life on purpose.